part 2 of how hostile Gen X's environment was. And sorry for the two-part videos, like I think I didn't select enough time. Anywho, guess I had a lot to say. So in my initial video, I referred to a comment I got on my Facebook post about, an incident that happened where I fell off a roof. And my argument to the skepticism was to kind of describe how hostile our environment was. And I sort of talked about the parks that were hostile, and I also talked about the numerous accidents that would happen because, nobody watched us. But I also want to talk about culturally what was happening, because that was pretty hostile too. Someone didn't believe me either, or said that, I was exaggerating when I said, culturally, we were all bullies and all bullied at the same time. And let me give you some examples. I do have some receipts. So this was a time where, a movie like this was acceptable, totally acceptable, right? It was so mainstream and so popular that they played it when I was in elementary school. We all asked to play this movie. All of us laughed at it and thought it was okay. It was also a time where homosexuality was the punchline. That was the joke, right? And Eddie Murphy had a whole skit just on, being gay, because that was so hysterically funny, right? And to be fair, we all laughed. We all laughed with it because we thought, homosexuality was just so funny. And for those who were there, I don't know if you guys remember, but this movie, 3 O'Clock High, that came out in 1987, was really popular. They played it in our high school because, the values were really good, right? Fight for what you think is right, stand up to your bullies, and the whole thing culminates in a fight. And speaking of which, fights were something that was pretty, it's probably common today, but it was something that was pretty common culturally and acceptable. Meeting at the bicycle rack at 3 p.m. was a thing. I got into several, I know a lot of people who've gotten into fist fights, both in elementary and also in high school. It was just a thing that we did. It was a rite of passage. And that value is sort of promoted in this movie. Unless I missed the point because it's been so long, but that's what I remember of it. And there's this Band-Aid commercial that kind of popped up on my For You page that uses, so it's a Band-Aid commercial that uses at the end the R word, super casually. That was a thing. So long story short is that we all participated to some degree in this, culture of lateral violence, where we either laughed at the jokes because we thought it was funny. Contextually, it was funny. But it's in retrospect that we realize how hostile that was. Yet that was just the way things were. So picking on people and being bullied was just normal. There wasn't any consequences to that, or real consequences. It was just part of the rite of passage, which we now know better. And again, like my previous video, I'm not glorifying, I'm just stating how things were. So hopefully this gives a little bit of perspectives on the reality that Gen X grew up in, and helps you understand us better. Obviously, the end result is we might be a little bit more jaded, a little bit less patient, but I think every generation has their challenges. Ours was a particular one.